everyone. I'm Kelsey,
And I'm JPatt.
and you guys are listening to the Box Officers podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please leave us a star rating or review wherever you're listening to this episode.
Watching a bad movie is like witnessing a serious crime, but have no fear. The box officers are here. Each episode, me, Kelsey, and George will review a movie and then we'll categorize it based on the severity of punishment.
Films can be convicted of a felony, a misdemeanor, an infraction, or on the rare occasion found innocent. Today, JPatt and I are going to be reviewing the movie Christy. So if you haven't seen it yet, you're going to want to pause this episode, go watch it, because we're going to spoil some things for you. But otherwise, we can get into the episode.
First things first, we them boys. I'm coming off of a high. We just beat the Eagles. So I just wanted to say that, shout out to the Cowboys in case they watch
Yeah.
this episode.
Yeah.
Dak,
Love
you need
that.
to run the ball more often. Shout out, what's his name? Pickens. Yeah, shout out Pickens. He carried the game. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into it. So
It's a
Christy
good day
is the
for Dallas.
movie. Yeah, it's a good day. Yeah. So Christy is the movie we are reviewing, and I mean that's another sport that we can get into conversation about.
Boxing.
Women's boxing. Yeah, yeah, women's
Absolutely.
boxing. To be precise. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
I know I think it was you and me, right? That did the smashing machine?
yeah, yeah, it was the Smashing Machine. Yeah, so it's kind of just like they kind of have the same
Hmm.
vibe in a way. Yeah. But this movie was the Smashing Machine considered like a biopic or okay, so I guess this is Christy. Christy is also a biopic, but I feel like
Yeah.
Christy covers her whole like career, and in Smashing Machine, it kind of covered the end of his career, I believe, right?
Yeah, and that was like something that we kind of complained about, that it was only covering like a 3 to 5 year period in the smashing machine, which I mean I get it,
Yeah,
but we were talking about one part of his career. And I also feel like that was a lot more about like actually no, because we were getting into his relationship for like 50% of the movie too, but this
yeah,
one gave like the boxing is like just
yeah. The boxing's
thrown in there
there.
here and there, but like it's really about her personal life, which I mean there's a lot of similarities between these two movies, and unfortunately they came out so close to each other, which I don't know. I
Yeah,
know that sometimes that's just gonna happen. Like you'll have two superhero movies come out like
yeah,
right
yeah,
next to each
yeah.
other. But boxing biopics is such a niche like genre or like area of film that for them to have two movies like this back to back like that, it just
Hmm.
feels like I'm a bit tired personally.
Yeah, yeah, you could say that. I mean, two that are back to back that aren't done, I would say perfectly. I mean, I like a good
He said
little,
if it
yeah.
were good, it'd be better.
I like a good biopic, and I'm not gonna say it's not good, but it is, it's all right. And I like the Smashing Machine, but at the same time, it was also all right. There was a whole lot more I wish that was in that movie. But what was I gonna say? Yeah, I mean, in these two movies, you can kind of see a similarity when it comes to the whole relationship thing because they both have crazy partners. I think Christy has it worse though, but uh,
Yeah,
very,
absolutely.
very much worse. Yeah, basically the gist of the movie is, Christy, aka the coal miner's daughter, she starts off as a female boxer. She meets her boyfriend or the guy, like her trainer. I can't remember his name right now. And
James Martin, played by
Martin,
Ben
yeah, yeah.
Foster.
Yeah, and Ben Foster, I heard he did really good. Reviews for his acting in the movie, they are like, yeah, like he did great in his disgusting role. But yeah, he plays the toxic boyfriend. I guess I feel like a big subject in the movie is like sexual identity. I guess when it
Yeah.
comes to like being a lesbian, but she was kind of like fighting against that, or at least her, you know. her boyfriend wanted her to fight against that and be
And
like,
like her mother, you know.
yeah, 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 yeah. Because I think, yeah, her mothers were like, her mother was like really against homosexuality. So she had those two things going on for her. And then she was even like saying like, was like homophobic stuff in the ring, to the other girls that were lesbian. So I think that was like a huge subject in the movie. And I mean, they targeted it for, good reason. I feel like that'll target a certain audience that kind of deal with the same thing. Yeah.
It is interesting that aspect of it because it's just kind of like one of those things where people, I think that's just a very human thing to do, like projection. Like she's feeling
Yeah.
some way because she can't be out because of
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
James Martin or her mother or whoever. And so she's like being kind of nasty a little to the other
Hmm.
lesbians, but it's one of those things where you want that freedom for yourself. But I think that's just like a thing that's a very human aspect to her, which I do. Okay, so I didn't really know going into it anything other than like it's a boxing movie.
Yeah,
It's a female boxing movie. That's all I had. So I think I thought that it was going to be like about boxing. And I
yeah,
agree with you that it definitely was centered around her and just her relational dynamics, whether that's between her and the other boxers or her and like her mother or her and James Martin. It's all about like that, which I think is okay. And I think with a biopic, it depends on like what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to show us like why this person is great in their sport? Or are you trying to show us why this person is like really impactful? Because I think now in real life, Christy is like an advocate for domestic violence kind of situations, things like that. So
yeah,
if their goal was to show us like, her as a human, like I think that was done well. But like if you're trying to tell me like about her boxing, it's not even like I feel like y'all could have gave us a lot more. Also with her like I don't know, because I'm like you guys are hyping up this one part where they're leading up to her fighting Muhammad Ali's daughter,
mm,
only for her to get whooped, and it's just kind of
yeah.
like
That's crazy.
building up to that fight kind of for what when it doesn't add to the story because you're focusing the story on by this point it's like okay it's very clear like you guys want this story to be about her like relationship dynamics versus like her boxing, and I guess that goes into my point of like why was it 2 hours and 15 minutes long if you guys like those you don't need to lead up you don't need to give me 30 minutes of leading up to a fight if it's not about the boxing, if that makes sense. Just
Yeah,
take that out. Just show me
yeah,
the boxing. Give me like 5 minutes instead of 30 minutes because you're taking up time. And I think nowadays everybody wants to have a 3 hour long movie, and we need to save that for Avatar. You guys
yeah,
don't all need to have super long movies all the
yeah.
time.
Gotta save it for Avatar and let's see, please. Man,
Man, that's gonna be crazy. And
yeah.
did you see that's already okay? So they dropped tickets for that for like one day. You know how shout out Dallas. Speaking of Dallas being the best city ever, we have the Cowboys and we have 70 millimeter IMAX
IMAX.
theaters. And so they released tickets for like opening night just for one showtime, sold
Yeah.
out immediately. I checked like that
Dang.
afternoon and it was sold out.
Dang, yeah.
Sold out.
I can see why
Same.
it would be sold out. Yeah, because that is a great theater to watch a movie like that in. So it was a huge theater.
Gonna be a
Yeah.
great day for the box officers.
No
But yeah,
facts.
since
Side
we're
tangent.
talking about right, yeah, we got excited, guys. We cannot talk about this movie without
Yeah.
being honest. A lot of the controversy around this has nothing to do with Christy. And I would
Yeah.
argue, are we doing it a disservice by casting someone that the dialogue around them as a person or as an actor shadows this biopic that I actually think is a really cool, important story. Miss
Yeah.
Sydney
Yeah.
Sweeney. We just got to get into
Yeah.
it. And I just want to say this right now. Should we ever meet her, I have nothing against the girl. I just think she makes decisions that don't always make sense to me.
I
But
think,
I'm
yeah.
sure she's a lovely girl.
Yeah. I think she's just been controversial lately. I guess the people you would consider the masses is kind of like No, we don't mess with her, so anything she does or says is like terrible. And I'll say this, I looked at two different people's like opinions about the movie. The first opinion started off with Sydney Sweeney. Like Sydney Sweeney
You got
shouldn't have
to
been
talk about
casted
it.
in. Yeah, like the first opinion started off with Sydney Sweeney. And then the second opinion was somebody who just went into the movie blind, not knowing who was in the movie. And they came out saying that they liked it. And then the person who was like talking about Sydney Sweeney as soon as she even started reviewing the movie was like, this movie was trash. And it was because Sydney Sweeney was like casted in it. And I'm like, come on, you got to be a little unbiased, you know? Like
You
I
do.
feel like there's a lot of people that don't like the movie because Sydney Sweeney is in it. And I'm not saying that she's the greatest
Hmm.
actor at all. No, she's like I feel like she's a good or average actor in my eyes. Like I haven't even seen that many movies with her in it, but the movies I have seen, she's always just been like a regular, good actor. Her acting isn't terrible, but I'm not gonna say like she's like among like, like Chadwick Boseman or other prominent female actors out there.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like Sydney Sweeney is known a lot more for her, the controversy or her looks or, rather than what movies that she's, starred in. But just saying those two opinions, where it's like somebody going into it blind and then somebody going into it already biased, you know, I feel like that affects how well the movie did because the movie did bomb, when it comes to the box office. And I think because of that
Yeah.
bias, yeah. But that's kind of my take on it. I don't really have a strong take on Sydney Sweeney, other than the fact that I just know she's controversial and all that. But I haven't I'm no fan or anything, or I don't know all the ins and outs of what's going on with her. But yeah, I'm sure
Uh,
you would though.
I've heard some things, but you brought up the box office. Great
Yeah.
point. So the budget for the movie was 15 million, which you think
Wow.
about nowadays, that's kind of small. And box
Yeah, but it like
office
made like
opening weekend,
1.5 million. Like, yeah,
I was gonna say $2 million opening weekend.
must have rounded it up.
Yikes! Like
Yeah.
it's already like I think not even showing in a lot of theaters near us. Like when I was looking it up, it's already and the release date like
Yeah.
nationwide was like November 7th. We're recording this
Yeah.
on the 3rd. We watched it this previous weekend.
Yeah.
Already not even in theaters for real.
Yeah.
It's just
It's probably
not
like it's
hitting. And I
probably
have to ask,
it was one of those movies that
and tell you what?
I said it was one of those movies like you look it up and you'd see it at a theater near you, but it's like only two showtimes. That's like how it was
Yes.
doing. Yeah. Yeah.
Which is
But what are you about to
crazy
say?
for a city as big as this. Yeah, I was gonna say you do have to ask though, like if somebody was casted that was not Sydney Sweeney, would things have turned out differently? It is possible. I would also
Yeah,
say that like had it not been released so closely to the Smashing Machine, would it have done better? It is
that's
possible. I
possible
think
too.
there was a time where like sports biopics were like huge and a really big thing. And I just think
Yeah,
that maybe we're just not feeling those movies as a public right now unless it's like a really great story. And what's unfortunate is like this was. So I'm a little confused about why it was. But in terms of Sydney Sweeney, all I have to say is the jeans thing that was stupid and it's not she didn't write it. My problem was afterwards when she was directly asked about it and she just like
mhm.
brushed it off like, oh well, I just love a good pair of jeans. This was your opportunity to say something worthwhile and
Yeah,
you
to
did
kind of
it.
clear it
So
up.
now I think you're a silly girl. And I will also say in terms of like, didn't she try to sell her bathwater or something once? Like that's
I
why are we doing that?
think she did at one point.
That was her, right? Selling her bathwater.
I think, well, there's been multiple girls who have done that. So she was like, okay, I'm gonna sell my bath water, but I'm still
It's not.
so
It's crazy
yeah,
because you are. And my thing is, I get what they're saying. Like, I'm an actress. Like, I'm struggling. Like, it's the funds aren't there. Like, we are all like, yes,
yeah,
but I get it. However, you actually do not have to live in $1 million apartment just because you are on HBO. If you can't afford it, if it's to the point where you have to sell your bathwater, you need to downsize, you need to move to Brooklyn, and you need to make some things shake. Like, you obviously are not in a position to stop living beyond your means. And there was a time I thought she was super cool too because she was doing the cars thing. You know, she was fixing up the cars. I said, "Oh, I
Yeah,
love this." She
that's what
lost
I
me.
think it was. It was like bathwater soap or like her bathwater scented
That's
soap. Yeah,
disgusting.
I hope it's
That's
just a I hope it's just a marketing thing. I feel
it
like
was
that's
not.
illegal.
I'm sure that she sat in that tub. I I don't I don't
It's crazy.
understand. Cause why? Like, it's just not necessary. And she's such a beautiful woman, beautiful gowns, whatever. I just think I've seen her. I would say the most acting I've seen of hers actually was more related to TV. So Euphoria and
Okay.
White Lotus.
That was like her breaking,
It
like
I would say
that's where she
Euphoria
broke
probably
in.
is like what she's known for, but the White
Yeah.
Lotus, that's another project I saw her in, and she was in it a lot of it. And I will just say, she's never moved me as an actress. And I'm not even trying to be mean, like, I'm no actress myself, but that's not my career. I think it's just one of those things where she always sounds the same to me. And so with this movie, when I look at Christy, I do see Sydney Sweeney in a wig and a muscle shirt. Like, that's what I've seen. And I wish that I had seen different.
Well, I was surprised that she was casted because I feel like if you're familiar with Sydney Sweeney and a whole lot of other things, then you kind of can't like unsee her playing this, buff woman boxer. She's like, I feel like she's just kind of like not that vibe. Like, it's like The Rock. The Rock fits certain vibes. He fits the whole jungle guy. He fits the pro wrestler. He fits the guy jumping from skyscrapers, whatever that movie was. You know which one I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Yeah. But for her, like in my opinion, and I've seen Sydney Sweeney here and there, but I wouldn't have expected her to play a lead role, you know, such a such a character.
I agree.
But I feel like, yeah, I feel like she was maybe out of everybody there, she was maybe like the only one out. I mean, like didn't fit into their role.
And that's sad. And my thing
Yeah,
is, you can't even say, like, because you could argue people like, I don't know, a lot of childhood actors fall into that trap, or people who just do one really iconic project and you can't kind of see them in anything else. But there are so many who cross over so well. So it really is a thing of like talent. Either you're
yeah,
gonna break out of that mold or you're not. And it's kind of a
yeah,
testament because it's saying like Euphoria was such a relevant project that we see you in that way, like always. But it's one of those things where, if you're playing Harry Potter, you're gonna have to keep signing up. If you're playing Edward from Twilight, you're gonna have to keep acting
mm,
until we. I think Robert Pattinson is a great example of somebody who really worked hard to get out of that like box. And I
yeah.
feel like now I don't see Edward in every project. Daniel Radcliffe also does okay, but I still low key like don't put any glasses on that man or it's to be Harry Potter. But Sydney Sweeney, I just think that it's gonna take some more time and some to really diversify herself. But I think this was a good start.
I think it was a beautiful story though.
Absolutely.
And I think that's also a good contrast too, because The Rock, he played a completely different character than he would normally play when he did the Smashing Machine. And
Hmm.
people thought that his performance in the Smashing Machine was great. The movie overall, that's a different story. But his performance in the Smashing Machine, playing such a different character, looking the part, it was kind of like, okay, yeah, that's The Rock, but that's also that character.
He did great.
Uh,
I
yeah,
was
yeah.
super impressed.
Yeah. And I want to see like more of that from him, even though I think he's doing another Jumanji movie now with Kevin Hart and the same other people.
He's never escaping.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like
that's funny.
relapsing.
Yo, literally.
But yeah, I think hopefully whatever role she does next, this is just kind of like the start. Maybe it's a rough start, but maybe, if she does another role, that's breaking out of the little mold that she started in, then I'm hoping for better acting or, just a
Yeah.
better character to play as. But the story, I feel like the story overall about Christy is very interesting. And I think when
Mm.
a lot of it was taking place was I was like a kid, that it was she has a crazy story when it comes to, the toxic ex and her being stabbed and shot, but at least he went to jail for
Yeah.
all that.
I didn't know about it. That's what I was saying earlier. Like, I didn't know about any of that. So that
Hmm.
was actually so crazy. And I will say, it's not that Sydney, in certain parts, like it did give Christy. It's not like the whole time. I just, I went in with an expectation, and that's one of those things where I just kind of have to put my biases aside. But
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say she did horrible. I thought this was a good job, and for her, it is some of the best work we've seen from her. But then you have like Ben Foster, who is completely like transformed into James Martin. And I just think like, I mean, I already liked Ben Foster as an actor, but I think like he, for him to like really dive in, it contrasts kind of to the level of like Sydney Sweeney's like immersiveness. But I mean, I think Ben Foster did a great job at playing like such a horrific person. But yeah, I was unfamiliar with the
Yeah.
lore, so that is
Yeah.
jarring. And I think it's a really good, I like, I think it's an important story about, you know, messaging wise, objectively, like finding yourself and finding that safety and getting help. And, it's just a really good movie for awareness on a lot of fronts. You can really see like how important she was, not just to like boxing, but just in general as a person and the things she
Mhm.
went through. That's like, it's sad actually. It's really scary, but I'm glad that she's okay. And then she ended up marrying that girl,
Yeah, the
that
other woman.
the other boxer,
Boxer.
lesbian,
Yeah. I think it
which I
starts with
think is a
the L.
really, Lisa,
Lisa. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
which I think that's also really
Yeah.
like
It's
interesting
crazy
and
because she was
cool
like,
the way it worked out.
it was like when they met in the ring, like she was talking mess to her at first, like about being a lesbian. And then like,
And look at you now,
yeah, in bed. Like, where you going?
lesbian. Like, I see this tweet right now. It says Christy movie is the film that the Smashing Machine wished it could be. First of all, like, hold on, back up, because
That's bold.
I still like the Smashing
Yeah.
Machine. So y'all, you're tripping, but they go on to say stellar, heartbreaking performance by Sydney Sweeney in a career-changing role that should put her in awards contention. Now, this is a really big debate piece that I've seen. What is
Hmm.
your thoughts on people making these, like, because we've had a lot of biopics coming out late. Biopics are always going to be a thing. They've always been a thing. But if you
Yeah.
notice, like the niche ones have been rolling out this year, it does feel as if people are making movies that they think are going to be like, they want the Oscar. They want the Academy Award. And
Yeah.
it seems like, are we fishing? Do you think this is one of those where they're like, okay, we're setting her up for award season? Same with the Smashing Machine. You could almost argue the same for Marty Supreme later in
Mm.
December. It's like,
Yeah.
are you guys, is this the new shortcut in to like,
Like biopics trying to get into like
it kind of
a
feels
hit
like
a hit
I've
award.
heard that they people think this was such a clear like attempt at like award fishing for a
Yeah.
movie, which, I mean, I don't know, I feel like any movie would be happy to win an award, but I get what they're trying to get at.
Yeah. I wouldn't knock the theory because I mean, I'm pretty sure The Rock didn't do a film that stood out so much if he wasn't looking to have that type of like attention towards his role. Especially with the way the Smashing Machine was marketed. It was marketed to be a film that was just kind of like a cult class. Like it was it felt like the vibes I got from the movie was that it was marketed to be a movie that changed the game, or at least changed The Rock's career, drastically. And that it would get,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think with that attention being there, it's like, okay, might as well give it an award, because this is a milestone in The Rock's career. He's playing a completely different role, a different character and all of that. And that's what all the hype was around. So I feel like when actors make that choice to do something super different from what they usually do, that comes with a lot of hype and a lot of attention. And I'll be honest, not all rewards are just going to be based off how a movie does. It's going to be based off of how many eyes are on it, how much attention does it get. So I think I wouldn't knock that theory. I feel like that's pretty like plausible to be like, okay, these actors and actresses are sometimes stepping outside the box in order to get enough eyes on them and to earn themselves a reward because of it. But
Literally, like you want an award for doing something different when you're an actor. And so in theory, like shouldn't everything you do kind of be a little bit different? It's not
yeah, be a little
our fault
different.
that
Yeah.
you did the same project like 20 times. Um
Right.
and it's interesting.
It's kind of
It's
like a high risk, high reward situation in my eyes. Because you're doing something completely
yeah.
different, completely out of you're extending your range. But if you hit the target, hey, that's like, a reward right there. That's a big win. Yeah.
I don't think she's gonna be winning anything for this. I'd be very shocked, and I don't think the Smashing Machine is
And
gonna
they're
get
not gonna,
anything
yeah.
either. Especially like it's not gonna be related to cinematography or anything like that. I'd be shocked, especially when you have
Yeah.
other boxing movies like Creed and what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ryan Coogler did with like the shots that you get and the type of like even method acting that Michael B. Jordan was doing. Like I think he was actually getting hit in those movies, you know? And I think
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where when you have boxing movies like that, obviously not a biopic, but still, like, you're not getting the award when you're doing it like this. But I think these were more so about telling important stories versus boxing anyways, and I think that's great. Like it's awareness to boxing, but it's not about the boxing. And then I would argue that like their chances are overall lowered because Christy and the Smashing Machine are two, like they're sisters. So it's
Mm.
like, yeah, now you've eliminated each other, unfortunately, for this award season, in my mind. Because it's like we just watched the same movie twice and it didn't perform well either time. So I don't see
Yeah.
it like getting anything. But it was something that, like, when I was looking stuff up online, it came up a lot where people were like, oh, this is just them trying to get Sydney Sweeney an award. Good luck to her, I guess.
At least the Rock got a standing ovation. So
A suspiciously long one.
a 5 minute, what was it, 5 minute? Or was it
I
15
felt like it
minutes?
might have been longer.
Yeah,
It
I'm
was
like 50.
absurd. It's kind of like Austin Butler for Elvis. Like, why are we standing for
Oh,
15 minutes applauding? You
yeah.
clapping longer does not mean anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna sit down.
Absolutely, but I will say I think we should give
Father,
our review, or we need to lay down the law.
I'm going to lay down. It was, I'd say it was a little mid. So like, kind of, it wasn't terrible, but it was still like, okay, that was cool. I'd give it a misdemeanor. I'd give it a misdemeanor. That's how I feel.
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure a whole lot of people are like felony or, off with their head. But I'd give it a misdemeanor. It wasn't the worst. Now, it's definitely not the worst biopic I've seen. And that's what I'm rating it in. That's my category of rating it. It's a misdemeanor when it comes to biopics. So I feel like yeah, that's a just, whatever. What's up? What's yours?
Now I'm trying to figure out like punishment. I guess just punishment. I'm like, what's the legal term for what we're doing here? I would say that it is also a misdemeanor. I think that there was a beautiful story,
Mhm.
some decent acting from Sydney Sweeney. I do believe that you could have found somebody with maybe less known who could have done performed in a way that better served the story. Just because
Yeah,
someone's a big name does not mean you need to throw them in a movie. I think there are people who that could be their actual breakout role
yeah. They were
and they
mentioning.
could deliver.
I saw like reviews and stuff mentioning another actress. I can't remember her name now. It was like Ruby something. I'm not sure. They were
Ruby
like
Rose, and
Road.
she was upset. Rose, like the
Ro
flower.
aren't there? Okay, I'm thinking about Amber Rose. Yeah, Ruby Rose. Yeah, she wanted that
And she
role,
was not
I think.
happy.
Yeah, I don't.
She had a lot of concerns because of Sydney Sweeney's what, and I don't know if these are confirmed political views, but what we believe her beliefs to be. And it's just like you're
Mhm.
playing like a lesbian, and allegedly at first the script really heavily centered on that issue, like,
Yeah,
and some of the homophobia that like she Christy experienced. I guess the allegation is that Sydney Sweeney coming onto the project due to her personal beliefs, she made some changes to the script so that instead of focusing on that, it focused more on the domestic violence aspect of things. And Ruby Rose and others who, because the cast, I guess majority of the people playing these characters, they were actually like lesbians in real life, and they're like, why would we want someone that hates us to play us in such an important movie like this?
hmm.
Which I yeah, that's what I heard. But
Oh, so that's
I
that's
can
where
see
that's
the
where like
point.
Ruby's like beef with it stems from. Is
Mhm.
Ruby lesbian or
I think she's actually lesbian. I believe. Yeah.
yeah, that could have
So
made more
she's
sense
like,
then.
why on earth would y'all get Sydney Sweeney of all
Yeah,
people? Well, you could have just gotten like a respectful lesbian actress somewhere, which is kind of like the
yeah,
point I make. Like, why Sydney Sweeney? I need them to really explain it
it,
to me, which is why I
yeah,
brought up the question about the Oscar fishing, because it just feels like, why else Sydney Sweeney, unless
yeah.
somebody's really trying to make a bid for her during this awards season?
It
Because I
kind of
just
would have
don't
made
believe that that was your only option.
yeah, that kind of would have made sense because it would be kind of like if there was a black story and then you cast somebody that doesn't really line up with the character behind that story. It's kind of like casting.
And they do that a lot.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So that makes sense because I didn't know who Ruby Rose was. So, but yeah, they were like
Yes.
everybody was like, we should have seen Ruby Rose and this that. Has she been in anything that
Orange is
you've
the New
watched? Okay, yeah. Weren't they?
Black. Mhm.
I've never watched the show, so excuse my ignorance. But were they all lesbians, or were like a couple of them lesbians in the show?
Not everyone, but a lot of them.
Okay.
Some of them discovered that
I mean, it's
interest due to the
jail,
fact
so
that they are in a women's prison, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
But I believe when her character was introduced, I don't remember the show too well, but I believe she was a lesbian like from jump on
yeah.
the show.
Okay, yeah. So it's not like
So
that. She would fit that character. You know,
and I think that's what she was saying, like literally anybody else. And I think it's not even. I think part of it is yes, that Sydney Sweeney is not a lesbian to our knowledge, but it's more so like she, I guess. And again, this is why I said like I don't know too much about it because I don't know that I've ever heard her express any views
mhm,
on anything, but I also don't check for her on the internet, so I wouldn't know if she said anything. But
yeah,
I guess the allegation was that like she's super like against that, like I guess it gives homophobic, like very strong MAGA, I hate that
okay,
community kind of vibes, very strong MAGA vibes or something.
yeah,
So they were like, why on earth is she playing a lesbian?
yeah. Well, I don't, I don't know.
Let's
That's
bring
not
her
my,
out. Let's
yeah,
ask her.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm like at this point. I mean, she did have the interview, and I guess she could have clear some things up on the interview.
And that's what I'm
So
saying. It's
yeah,
the same
well,
like with the jeans thing. Like just say
yeah.
something nice, say something positive. I don't
Now,
understand.
I'll
And
be
that's why we
honest.
talk about you the way that we do.
Yeah, I'll be honest with the jeans thing. I did feel like people were like reaching, like they were reaching. I feel like the main thing wrong with the jeans things, I think there's some history behind American Eagle or there was another lady or another girl. I think it was like early 2000s, 90s. And she kind of said the same thing, like I have good jeans. I'm not sure who it was, but something happened to her. Something bad happened to her and you got to look it up. You got to look it up. I think you'll know what I'm talking about
Hmm.
after you look it up. but I think that could have come off like insensitive to her, to the other girl, and kind of like what happened to her, without like just
Like
proper respect to
homage.
that homage, yeah, to that situation. I can't remember what it was, but I remember somebody saying the same thing. They were like, I'm really not upset over the whole I have good genes, but this, this is something to be upset about. Or like something to actually like be
I
like, eh,
For me, the part about the jeans that bothered me, I think it says something about like her eyes and her hair, and that made me.
like eugenics. They
I
were talking about eugenics
personally,
or something. Yeah,
unfortunately, it does come across in that way, and for me, like, I think there's a way. I get what they were doing. I get it. I get it. It's clever. I understand. And do I think
yeah,
anyone there necessarily meant any harm? No. So I'm not taking offense personally. I think I have good genes too. My thing is like when you have such verbiage, it comes across a bit ignorant to get a white person with blonde hair and blue eyes to discuss eugenics in relation to denim. It's just like had it been anybody else, unfortunately, it would have been
yeah.
fine. If it were any other person, any other like combination of genes, say you have good genes, but that's just like we do believe you think you have good genes. You historically people like you have shown that they do believe they have good genes and it just came across a bit tone deaf in my opinion, but I
Yeah,
think it things like that get blown out of proportion. But where
yeah,
I really was like, okay, now you're weird, is when her response to it. I thought that was a bit odd because it's like
yeah,
you could have just been. She's like, I love American Eagle. Shut up. Anyways, the movie's getting a
yeah.
misdemeanor from me. I think that though I would love to just be clear. It has nothing to do with the story. I think the story is super important, and I actually was really grateful to learn about it and hear about it because I was not aware of
Hmm.
Christy Martin and her
Yeah,
story,
facts.
and just very likable girl all around. And I think that's
She cannot be
really
killed.
cool that people are getting these, this give them their flowers while they're here. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
think that's really cool, but. Um, yeah. Also, if it had been shorter, maybe I would have felt different. I'm not saying it has to be like fast paced the whole time, but I think there were moments where it dragged a little in a way that I said, well, maybe we
Yeah.
don't have to drag it like that. But overall, like, cool story.
Same with
The
Smashing Machine.
man movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
literally. That's their twin brother for real.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
When it comes
Wow.
to movies, I think we're over that hump, the boxing
Thank goodness.
biopics, over that hump, at least for this
I'm
year.
not doing another one of these. This organization, the box officers like organization, will never review another boxing. No, I'm kidding. I just think like I'm tired. I don't want to watch them anymore. That's just not my sport of choice. But I again, both storylines are very interesting. But I think I would.
Mm.
That's something I want to see in like a documentary. Necessarily need the
Yeah.
me. I'm
Like I
not going
think
to see the
there's,
biopic, but I would love to watch documentaries on both of them. There are documentaries on them,
yeah, on
and I would watch
Netflix.
both of those like happily. So,
Yeah, facts. A lot of people are like, hey, if you don't watch, like the movie, or if you don't watch the movie, for whatever reason, either out of, being like the movie's bad, I don't want to go see it, or you're like, I don't want to give my money to Sydney Sweeney. They're like, just watch, it's a Netflix documentary. I think it's like Untold, something, something. But
mm,
yeah, they'll have her like whole story on there. So that's where I got a little bit of my information about her whole case from, besides the movie.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's super cool. I might check it out for real. Well, the box officers have laid down the law.
Hmm.
Court is adjourned, even though we're just police. I will say that this was great. I love whenever we're reviewing a movie and there's so much like pop culture, like stuff to like talk about
Yeah.
adjacent to the movie, you know? Like there was just a lot surrounding this one. So I feel like that's why we had so much like extra to say. But this was great. Next week, Georgette and I will be reviewing Now You See Me, Now You Don't. So you definitely have to come back to the Box Officers podcast. And I will be releasing a bonus solo episode on Wicked. No, I'm kidding. I'm not. But I did watch Wicked, and I want everyone to know that I liked it. Wicked for good. But yeah, that's it for this episode. And we look forward to seeing you guys back here next Wednesday on the Box Officers podcast.